We have begun to drain the swamp of government corruption by imposing a 5-year ban on lobbying by executive branch officials.
Atlas National Shipping was the gold standard of American logistics, trusted by Walmart, Costco, and the Department of Transportation. But beneath the floorboards of their perfect fleet lay a $2 billion secret that was systematically poisoning the American heartland, while 20 of our own politicians held the shovel.
It's the largest takedown of a New York City-based drug trafficking operation in 30 years.
We've all heard the phrase, drain the swamp, right? Usually, it's just a political talking point. But what happens when the swamp isn't just a metaphor? What if the corruption is literally buried under the asphalt of our interstate highways? Well, it just happened. 52 tons of meth and 20 exposed politicians have just changed the face of Texas law enforcement forever.
Nearly $80 million worth of cocaine has been stopped from coming into the United States.
The Texas Department of Public Safety has been ordered to strictly enforce.
Yeah, John and Rashi, the FBI showed up early and in force.
A massive federal raid on Atlas National Shipping, a titan of the industry, revealed that the company was essentially a ghost ship operation, moving $2 billion worth of narcotics right under our noses. We're talking about thermal drones, tactical teams, and the discovery of a 1,400-foot reinforced tunnel that bypassed border security entirely. This is the largest takedown of a New York-based drug trafficking operation in 30 years.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection made history with the largest fentanyl bust ever. Nearly 650 pounds of the illegal drugs, fentanyl and methamphetamine.
Honestly, looking at the evidence, this is hands down the most complex smuggling operation ever found on United States soil. The data suggests this single network might be responsible for hundreds of thousands of overdoses across the American heartland. And I'm telling you, as we peel back the layers of this $2 billion web of lies, things are about to get much, much darker.
Revealed details of major bust involving one of the most dangerous and powerful cartels in Mexico.
More than 600 arrests were made, 133 of them were here in San Diego.
Before we dive into the highway horror that started it all, if you value deep dive investigative reports like this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We're uncovering the stories the mainstream media often overlooks. It all started at 2:17 p.m. on a dusty Saturday afternoon just outside San Antonio, Texas. U.S. federal agents were running a high-risk traffic checkpoint. They signaled a large, refrigerated semi-truck to pull over for a standard commercial inspection. To the cars passing by, it looked like routine paperwork, maybe a logbook check or a weight verification. But in reality, it was the first thread being pulled from a massive conspiracy. The truck bore the logo of Atlas National Shipping. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't some shady, fly-by-night operator with a rusted-out rig. Atlas National was a giant. They were ranked in the top 2% of shipping carriers in the entire country. They held tens of thousands of contracts with the biggest retail chains in America. We're talking Walmart, Costco, and Kroger. They were fully certified by the Department of Transportation. The driver? A middle-aged guy with a tired smile. He handed over a clean commercial license and a cargo list that looked perfect. 25 tons of fresh lettuce and tomatoes headed for a Midwest distribution center. He'd made this exact trip dozens of times. The trailer temperature was holding steady at 34 degrees Fahrenheit. This was the American supply chain working exactly as intended. But K9 units don't care about perfect paperwork. After the documents cleared, the handler walked the dog around the trailer. Suddenly, near the back wheels, the dog sat down. It refused to move. The officers looked at each other. They knew that look. Something was wrong. They started unloading the crates. They checked the walls. Nothing. They checked the ceiling. Still nothing. But dogs don't lie. The agents brought in a mobile scanner, and when they pointed it at the floor of the trailer, the screen lit up with a deep red anomaly. The floor wasn't just metal and insulation, it was several inches thicker than a standard factory build. Out came the tools. Bolts were torqued off, and heavy metal panels were pried open. Beneath that cold floor, there was no insulation. Instead, they found a custom-built hydraulic room. Inside, 100 kilograms of pure methamphetamine, vacuum-sealed and stacked with industrial precision. The street value of that single load, over $8 million. US Customs and Border Protection had just made history with one of the largest busts ever recorded. In that moment, a routine stop turned into a full-blown national security crisis. The driver was handcuffed immediately. He was shaking, his voice cracking as they moved him to the side of the road. He kept repeating the same thing over and over. "I just deliver lettuce. I've been running this route for 6 years." And here's the scary part. 30 minutes later, inside an interrogation room, federal agents realized he was telling the truth. The man had driven over 620,000 miles without a single accident. He passed every substance test. He was innocent. The investigation showed that the hidden room could only be opened by moving specific cargo pallets in a very specific, secret order. It was a code the driver never had. The floor was mounted on hydraulic supports designed to bypass weight sensors at highway scales. Think about that. This wasn't a smuggler hiding drugs in a truck. This was a truck built to hide drugs from the driver. As the agents looked at the engineering, a chill went through the room. Because if this truck existed, there had to be others. Not 1 or 10, but potentially hundreds of them, moving poison hidden beneath the food meant for American families. If this level of engineering sophistication shocks you as much as it did the DEA, hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm push this story to more people. It turns out for 15 years, Atlas National had operated as a pillar of the industry. They had 500 drivers and a massive repair yard in Texas. But the DEA spent months uncovering a dark reality. Atlas National hadn't been infiltrated by a cartel, it was owned by one. Out of their fleet, 150 trucks were totally legal, the paperwork shield. But the remaining 100, those were the priority units. These vehicles were sent to a cartel-owned garage where mechanics installed those hydraulic rooms. This operation involved one of the most dangerous cartels in Mexico, and it eventually led to over 600 arrests, including 133 in San Diego alone. But how does a criminal group stay invisible for 15 years? How do they pass government inspections and avoid zoning issues? The answer wasn't just hydraulics, it was influence. As investigators dug deeper, they found the protection. More than 20 senior officials, people connected to traffic oversight, city planning, and shipping regulations, had been greasing the wheels. It wasn't bags of cash in dark alleys, it was quieter. A phone call here, an introduction there, a permit moved to the top of the pile, or an inspection accidentally skipped. These officials were protecting more than just trucks. They were guarding a warehouse in Corpus Christi that hid something even bigger, a permanent smuggling gate buried beneath American soil. DEA intelligence led them to a plain-looking cold storage site near the port of Corpus Christi. To city inspectors, it was just another warehouse. But thermal drones flying at 20,000 feet picked up a heat signature that shouldn't have been there. It wasn't a drain pipe, it was a main artery. Deep beneath the concrete, agents found a 1,400-foot corridor. This wasn't a dirt tunnel dug with shovels. It was an engineering marvel with air fans, lighting, and a rail system to move cargo at high speeds. It ran from the warehouse directly to a hidden coastal point, bypassing customs entirely. The tunnel fed the warehouse. The warehouse fed the trucks. The trucks fed America. To stop this, the feds launched Project Python, a massive 6-month plan. But they knew if they just hit the trucks, the cartel would just buy new ones. They had to kill the brain, the heart, and the vein all at once. They called it Operation Shutdown. Over 400 federal agents from the FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security mobilized. They took positions across 12 states, from Arizona to New York. At exactly 4 a.m., the signal was given. The roads of America were about to become a war zone. The first stop in Georgia took less than 90 seconds. A driver, holding his morning coffee, was surrounded before he could even process what was happening. Underneath crates of avocados, 62 kilograms of vacuum-sealed meth. By 4:18 a.m., 27 trucks had been stopped. By 5 a.m., seizures were confirmed across a dozen states. Meanwhile, in San Antonio, teams breached the glass headquarters of Atlas National. Servers were seized while they were still warm. Executives in expensive suits were forced onto the floor. They weren't being treated like businessmen anymore. They were being treated like the narcos they were. In Corpus Christi, armored vehicles smashed into the warehouse. Agents blasted through the concrete and reached the tunnel just as a cartel crew tried to seal it. Too late. Inside, they found 1.3 tons of narcotics ready for transport on a single platform. The final tally? 52 tons of methamphetamine, 1.7 million fentanyl pills, over $112 million in frozen bank accounts. Total market value? North of $2 billion. The network had been built over 18 years and was dismantled in just 6 hours. But the digital war was just beginning. Technicians pulled 96 terabytes of data from the San Antonio servers. They found the ghost routes, trucks taking nonsensical longer paths and idling in small towns for days. This was a massive money laundering machine. They weren't hiding money in walls, they were hiding it in paperwork, making payments under $48,000 to avoid federal reporting. And then they found the names. The computer folders contained the names of 20 politicians. These individuals, senior officials in city boards and port groups, had been protecting the cartel for a decade. When an inspector flagged the warehouse, a state official killed the report. When a scale worker noticed weight discrepancies, they were transferred. These people sold the safety of their communities for political power and consulting fees. The human cost is the hardest part to swallow. When experts overlaid the Atlas National truck routes with public health records, the results were devastating. Between 2017 and 2024, counties along these routes saw over 430,000 meth overdoses. 112,000 of those were fatal. Overdose deaths rose 68% faster in these areas than the national average. This company didn't just move freight, it moved death. Atlas National is gone now. The tunnel is filled with concrete. The 20 politicians are heading to court, but the investigation isn't over. Because if one titan like Atlas could hide in plain sight for 15 years, who else is out there? What do you think? Do those 20 politicians who protected this network deserve the same prison time as the cartel bosses? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to see more justice served, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more.